when you're looking at healing yourself, you'll hear a lot of buzzwords. Things like, self-love, you got to love yourself before you can love others and all that sort of stuff. But the other one you hear a lot is boundary. We need boundaries. I got really confused about boundaries. It's something that I wasn't brought up with. I had, interesting childhood. I went to live with my dad when I was 6 years old. My mum broke up with my dad when I was 4, and I went to live with my mum for a couple of years, but she actually left me with my dad when she broke up with him, which is quite interesting. And then Dad sort of begged her, because it was the 70s, please take the children, all that sort of stuff. So we went to live with Mum, and Mum was very young. She was 18 when she had me, but she was a very young 18. And she just struggled. And then my dad was, an artist and a bit of a hippie, and there was no boundaries there. And us kids, and he didn't talk to us either. So children that are not spoken to very often, like he talked to us a little bit, but not really. He just didn't talk. My dad was a very silent kind of person, and children who are brought up around silence feel like there's something wrong. So we were all over the place, and boundaries was something that I had to learn as an adult, and it took a lot of time and exploration to work out what that was, like what are boundaries. And I remember, because I went through a lot of therapy, because of course, so my name is Catriona. I am a healer and teacher, and have been doing that for over 20 years. And my thing that I teach is emotional mastery and supporting yourself and living with love. And for me, I think, to be this healer, I had to go through a lot of stuff. So I went through a lot of therapy, and in the therapy they asked, I was asked a lot about boundaries, because what I had to go through was layers of learning. And I think as humans, we go through layers of learning, and some of us have to go through more layers of learning because that's our soul journey. Now, the layer of learning means that sometimes you have less boundaries, because otherwise you'd never go there. You'd never go into that lesson. You'd never speak to that person, etc. And what we're having to learn is, how do I not go through that again, right? So the first couple of things I would say is, if you are working on the whole boundary issue, the first thing I would say to you is, don't judge yourself. This issue that you have is actually a healing lesson. It's a lesson for your soul to understand the journey, the things that you have to actually work through. So say, for instance, you've got someone that's taking from you. You need to understand what it's like to be taken from, to be trampled in that way, so that your heart has compassion, your heart has the ability to understand what that feels like. And then you can go around the world being someone that firstly says no to that, but also having compassion for people that are in that position. Or when you see things in the world where, this is a very layered topic, so I'll try and sort of explain it as much as I can. Basically what happens is, us human beings, particularly if you're very, very sensitive, or even if you're just a little bit sensitive, when you feel things, that vibrates that into the world. So if you learn how to be strong from a particular situation that's happened, people have pushed you down with your so-called boundaries, and pushed your issues, and made your life a bit hard. Maybe they said, can I borrow your car, and had it for 3 months, or maybe they tried to say it was their car, not your car, or whatever, those sorts of situations. And you come out of that and you get stronger about that, and you know that that's not okay, and you like, this is not okay, people can't do this, I'm not going to have this happen to me, I don't want it to happen to other people. That's in your energy line. And then if you have felt the lesson of how to get to a place where you can say, no, this isn't okay, that's in your energy line. So it gives you a strength. It gives you a power. It gives you the ability to walk around with that. Now, what happens is, when something's in your energy line, the frequency of it actually ripples into the world. So everyone you're around can piggyback on that, and they can start to learn those lessons in a much easier way because of what you've gone through. So now we're going to talk about the actual what I started to think about with boundaries when I was going through the whole kind of what is a boundary issue. And I think in some ways we always have to reassess where our so-called boundaries are. But I'm going to start with the word boundary to start with. So when I was thinking about boundaries, I thought about the word boundary. And boundaries are basically like the space that we decide. Like I think mostly, think about the boundary around a property. But in fact, the earth is not something we can actually own. And it should really just be like it's itself. We belong to the earth. So putting a boundary around the earth is, just... It doesn't feel right. And also the boundaries change. Now, as human beings, our boundaries change all the time, and they kind of need to. Because if you're feeling a bit stressed, you might need a larger boundary. You might need people to kind of be away from you a little bit. If you're feeling really loving and happy and buoyant, you find that your boundary might be a bit smaller because people want to be around you and you're okay with that on that day. So what I began to realize is the word boundary didn't kind of work for me. And what I was like, what is it that I really need? What I realized was I needed a relationship with myself. I needed to know what I was feeling. I wasn't going to override what I was feeling for someone else. And this is a journey I'm still on, because I think, there are times when we self-doubt, but mostly now, if I feel something, if somebody is saying to me, can I borrow your car? I need to feel what I need. So when I feel what I need, I set an agreement. I set this is what I need from you if you do that. Yes, you can borrow my car, but how long did you need it for? When do you think you'll bring it back? Can you put petrol in it? Very clear kind of boundaries, what people would call boundaries, very clear kind of what do I need here? And if you are really, this is about understanding your needs. Who am I as a human being? Right? And quite often, particularly those of us that are women, we've learned to override our needs for other people. We see, particularly if you're an empath, you'll feel someone, you feel them going through a lot of stuff, and then you feel really bad for them, and you want to do more for them, and you go past what your limits are. So this is about learning what your limits are. What do I need? So the little mantra that I have in my healing work, and those of you that have worked with me before will know I say this a lot. It's basically 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What am I feeling? What do I need? And what am I going to do about it? What am I feeling? What do I need? What am I going to do about it? What am I feeling? What do I need? What am I going to do about it? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you actually ask yourself that question, it'll mean that when you're in a situation with somebody else, you can feel like, oh, this doesn't feel good. So what am I feeling? Oh, it doesn't feel good. I'm feeling trodden on. I'm feeling like I need to say no. I'm feeling like I need to say, yes, but this is what I need. And then what are you going to do? I'm going to say something to them. So it's really important to understand that the journey of what we call boundaries is actually the journey of the self. What do you need? How are you feeling? Listening to yourself. So it's self-compassion, kindness, gentleness, not coming with, it's really important. So the journey of boundaries is really about the journey of the self. Coming to a situation where you are thinking about yourself in a loving, kind way. If you are thinking about boundaries in this hard, heavy way, you're going to bring that energy to it, and like attracts like. Right? When you are being loving and kind to yourself, if someone's really pushing your boundaries, but you're being loving and strong and fierce in your loving and strength, people can't treat you in a fucked up way. I don't want to swear. If you're being loving and kind to yourself, then what happens is that when people come to you and they're being all harsh and heavy, if you're being loving and kind in a fierce way to yourself, in a really powerful way, then the energy that you're putting out doesn't match the energy that person's coming to you with. And they'll have to back away, or they change their energy, or you say no. So basically, be on the journey of the self. What do I need? Oh, sorry, what do I feel? What do I need? And what am I going to do about it? As much as you can ask yourself that question. And let me know how you go. Comment below, all of that sort of stuff. Thanks for watching my video to now. If you've watched it all the way through, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate those of you who keep watching my videos and liking, subscribing, all of that, because it helps me so much continue to show up. Yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.